across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Here you are, good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 compelling hours of breaking news, challenging views and topical debate. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 03444991000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, July, no it's not that, is it? It is Tuesday, September the 10th, Wednesday, September the 10th. Get it right. This will be on Mike Graham's gaffes on Friday. It is Wednesday, September the 10th. Here's what's coming up. For whom does the bell toll? Pedo's pal, Peter Mandelson, it tolls for you. For those of us old enough to remember his Blairite heyday, Mandy, embroiled in scandal, is almost dreary. To be expected, inevitable. The man is a walking disaster with a checkered career that should surely have sounded a warning to Keir Starmer before he was appointed to the position of Britain's top diplomat. He made the Prince of Darkness ambassador to the United States of America. Does Keir Starmer regret that now? 03444991000. Can Lord Mandelson cling on to his crucial Washington role now that the excruciating details of his toe-curling relationship with sex predator Jeffrey Epstein have emerged with the release of hundreds of documents by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee in Washington? Donald Trump insists that his signed entry in Epstein's 50th birthday book is a fake. Mandelson admits that his cringe-making eulogy to his best pal is intensely embarrassing, and now he wishes he'd never met the late ungreat billionaire whose hospitality he feasted on. But the former New Labour cabinet minister kept up his friendship with Epstein after he was convicted of child sex offences in 2008 and even brokered a big money business deal with him. This abysmal judgment on a Prince Andrew scale must surely put Mandy's ambassadorial future in grave doubt. Should he quit? Should Starmer fire him? 03444991000. In other news, two tiers calamitous government faces a full-blown border crisis after the first migrant boat for 3 years evades detection and achieves a so-called uncontrolled landing on a Kent beach. A serious failure of the RNLI and Border Force's renowned water taxi service. 03444991000. Also tonight, MasterChef reject Greg Wallace launches legal action against the BBC, demanding the release of alleged secret documents and claiming that his autism was ignored. Are you on his side? 03444991000. We'll take a look at the hilarious bitter battle to replace disgraced Angela Rayner as Labour's deputy leader. Who will win? Who will Starmer like the result? Will he like the result? Who would Starmer like to win? 03444991000. Meanwhile, I'll get MP Rupert Lowe's take on the 200 illegal migrants suing the government over alleged inhumane conditions at the Manston Airport Processing Centre. What's your take? 03444991000. And whoop-de-doo, Prince Harry has arrived at Clarence House for a reunion with his dad, the King. The last time father and son met was 18 months ago when the dismal Duke flew to London after Charles's cancer diagnosis. Oh, to be a fly on the wall for this royal face-to-face. And finally, flag wars as a caravan that remained daubed with massive Free Palestine slogans for 18 months. But when Patreons added a St. George's flag to the painted decorations, council workers turned up to remove it in less than 72 hours. A story of our times. Why do so many town hall types seem to hate displays of patriotism so much? 03444991000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together. And right off the bat, my first guest is Reform UK's excellent Westminster councillor, a future star, a current star, Layla Cunningham. Welcome, Layla.
Hi Kevin, how are you?
Good to see you. Now, as I said, you're incredibly young and you probably won't remember Mandelson's heyday in the Blairite years and the New Labour years, but I remember. And, you know, Mandelson being in a scandal was like a sort of everyday event. We got kind of bored with them. You know, he borrowed all this money from Geoffrey Robinson on this dodgy property deal in Notting Hill. He bought a house with a mortgage with no interest given to him by a loan given to him by Labour's richest man, Geoffrey Robinson. That scandal was nicknamed Notting Hill Gate because the house was in Notting Hill. He got a passport for the very rich Hinduja brothers because, you know, he was enthralled to their wealth. This guy loves rich people, hence his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, today, in Parliament, Kemi Badenoch tackled Keir Starmer on what looks like to be very poor judgment on his part, appointing this guy to Britain's top ambassadorial role, our man in Washington. So let's remind ourselves of the face-to-face in Parliament earlier today.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of child prostitution and sex trafficking that took place between 2002 and 2005. That is the precise period which Lord Mandelson called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. Absolutely. Was the Prime Minister aware of this intimate relationship when he appointed Lord Mandelson to be our ambassador in Washington?
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret. He is right to do so. He's now playing an important part in the US-UK relationship.
Well, pretty bad excuses there from Keir Starmer. I mean, this guy, Mandelson, should have been properly vetted. The government must have been aware of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. As I said earlier, these documents have been released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, and they include this excruciating long birthday eulogy, a greeting to Jeffrey Epstein from Peter Mandelson, who describes Epstein as his best pal. Now, look, Mandelson feasted on billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein's generosity, on his hospitality. He kept up his friendship with Epstein after Epstein was convicted of child sex offences in 2008 and indeed helped broker a £1 billion deal with Epstein after Epstein had served his sentence for paedophilia in 2008. Now, those two facts alone, I would have thought, would have precluded Peter Mandelson from becoming our ambassador in Washington. But there he is, Starmer insisting that all due process was followed properly, as he always does, the rule of law and all that. But if it was, they got it wrong. This guy cannot now surely be taken seriously as our ambassador. If Starmer doesn't fire him, he has to quit, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, he didn't just know Epstein, he idolized him, according to what he wrote. And I don't know, your producer kindly forwarded a Daily Mail article where he wrote that Peter Mandelson always had interesting, in quotation marks, friends to entertain. And he wrote the interesting in quotation marks. And that quote should chill every parent in Britain, knowing what Epstein did on those islands. And Labour's moral high ground has just collapsed. How many times is Keir Starmer going to stand up and say he stands by some corrupt person on the front bench or our British ambassador? It really sends a message to, we've got to question his judgment when he sends Bathroom Petey To represent us in the USA.
Yes, yeah, he called Epstein his best pal. Epstein called him Petey. He was a regular guest on Pedo Island, Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. Stayed at Epstein's New York residence, his apartment there, after or I think while Epstein was doing his sentence for paedophilia, sent him messages of sympathy for his conviction and so on and so forth. All of this should have stopped him being our ambassador. Go on.
Can you imagine, Kevin, if a Reform MP or anyone in Reform had penned that letter or sent these photos? Labour would be all over it as a national disgrace, calling for their resignation, their persecution. I mean, this is the party that jails journalists for tweets. They met, we meet a middle-aged comedian with armed police for a tweet. And yet, where is the condemnation from the front bench? Where is the accountability?
Even Labour MPs today, though, Layla, are lining up to say this guy has to go.
Oh, I didn't.
I think there's been several MPs, Labour MPs, backbenchers, who've said, no, there's a problem here. He has to go. He has to either be fired or he has to quit. Now, Harry Cole, the Sun's man over in America, got a good scoop. He sat down with Mandelson where Mandelson sort of laid out his story. This is on Harry Cole's podcast, Harry Cole Saves the West. Here's a little section of it.
I feel a tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done. And I regret very much that I fell for his lies. I fell and accepted assurances that he had given me about his indictment, his original criminal case in Florida. Like very many people, I took at face value what he said. With hindsight, with fresh information, many years later, we realized that we had been wrong to believe him. He's a charismatic criminal liar. We now see, and I regret very much indeed. I felt it like an albatross around my neck since his death in 2018 or 19, when it was. I feel a tremendous sense of regret. Not only that I met him in the first place, but that I continued the association, and I took at face value the lies that he fed me and many others.
Now, this is a guy, Layla, who's made no secret of his infatuation, if you like, with very wealthy men. Now, he insists, old Mandelson, Mandy, the Prince of Darkness, he insists that he didn't know about Epstein's nefarious activity with women, many of them underage, of course, we now know, because he was a gay man, so therefore his interests lay in a different direction, shall we say, sexually. So he says he didn't know about this, but he went to Pedo Island. Epstein was always surrounded by very young women. All of his properties were adorned and decorated with very weird sex-oriented pictures. Mandelson must have had a very, very good idea about what was going on. He says he's innocent of all of this, but what we've got here is a guy who has always hung around very, very wealthy people, and essentially he's bribable. He's always been bribable.
Well, I mean, that's the hypocrisy of Labour. Look at their connection with Lord Ali. He basically, bankrolled the whole party from the beginning, from clothes to parties to houses. And, I mean, you don't accidentally become best pals with the nickname of Petey with a prolific paedophile. We know what was going on those islands. It was for all to see, and everyone knew. He sounded like a sycophant in a bathrobe on a paedophile's island.
Exactly, and of course there were emails from Mandelson to Epstein after his conviction, sympathising, so sorry about what's happened to you and all this sort of thing. You know, even this conviction for paedophilia did nothing, it seems, to affect his close affection, his friendship for Epstein. I mean, what we're talking about here, Layla, it strikes me, this is another Prince Andrew situation. A man, just like Prince Andrew, he returned to Epstein after his conviction, said he regretted it and all that. Mandelson did it as well and got involved in a big business deal with Epstein after his conviction. This is not tenable, I don't think, for an American ambassador.
And he only regrets it because it's come to light. He didn't regret it in 2008. When was he convicted in 2008, Epstein, I think?
Yeah, it's 2008.
Yeah, you saw he wrote a letter saying, you know, I cannot believe what he charged you with. He didn't regret it then. He didn't regret it last week. He's only regret it now because it's come to light. And this is the same elite Labour network that now wants to criminalise us for our posts, for our speech, for our dissents. I mean, ask yourself, we've got to ask yourself what they do in private.
Yeah.
Who they do in private? I mean, are we going to trust anything they say? And what's really insulting is that Keir Starmer, yet again, another week, he stands up in Parliament and says, I have full faith in him. Obviously, Mandelson's going to go.
I think he might have to, don't you? I mean, I really do think so. Yeah.
How? Number one, no one in the USA respects him anymore. What's he going to say? There is guilt by association. Sadly, it's not a criminal offence, but it's definitely not a tenable public impression or image. Yeah. I don't want someone like that representing my country in the USA.
Yeah. Now, these leaked emails suggest that Mandelson more than sort of stuck by Epstein when he was accused of underage sex. He sent him emails talking about his years of torture and coaching his best pal Epstein on how to get through this nightmare. And while the Predator was facing charges in June 2008, shortly before he was convicted over soliciting a minor, Lord Mandelson wrote to him to say, "Your friends stay with you and love you." So, I mean, this is just beyond the pale, isn't it? I mean, he's now sort of talking about his intense sympathy for all the victims and all that. I would contend he must have known something was going on during those years when he was off to Pedo Island, staying in Epstein's joints and all this kind of stuff. He must have known something was going on.
He either knew or is incredibly non-observant and has no idea what's going on. Either way, both situations are terrible. We don't want someone like that being our ambassador to the USA. But really, we know, as you said, it's the Dark Lord. What's his name? The
Prince of Darkness.
The Prince of Darkness. And now that name actually shines a bit of a light, the situation on that name. Yeah. No, I think his situation's tenable at all. Who else that Keir Starmer personally picked to represent our country or to have a leading role in our government? Who else has a scandal around the corner? I just don't know.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, ironically, Donald Trump appears in this 50th birthday book as well, allegedly. He wrote him a note amid the kind of outline of a female naked body. Donald Trump said that's a fake. He says his entry is a fake, but of course, Mandelson admits that his excruciating, toe-curling eulogy to this freak, to this weirdo, to this wicked man was genuine, but he says at the time he just didn't realise, how bad this guy was. He now says he's very embarrassed and wants to put it behind him. But when Starmer says, "Oh, he went through the full vetting process," what kind of vetting process was it?
But also, I think Starmer says he was an association of him. They're associates. No. He called him his best pal.
Best pal, yeah.
That's very different to being an association or, I condemn anyone who went to that island. But someone who calls him his best pal and supports him even when he was convicted shows a very, very close relationship indeed. It's not a casual friendship that they had.
Exactly right. And would you not think, if you were Keir Starmer, perish the thought. But if you were, and you were thinking of, appointing the very important job of the ambassador to the United States, and you looked at Peter Mandelson's career, who was fired from the cabinet by Tony Blair, not once, but twice. He was fired twice. He was the comeback kid. He got fired for taking this dodgy mortgage from Jeffrey Robinson without any interest on it, and then he got fired for organising a passport for one of the Hinduja brothers, who were very wealthy Indian tycoons. All very dodgy, all very shady, all very murky, and Blair fired him twice. So that background alone, you would have thought, would have warned Keir Starmer about this man, Peter Mandelson. Perhaps he's not quite the calibre of person we need in Washington. But no, there was Starmer today saying, no, it's absolutely right, I stand by him, I have full confidence in him, the procedures were properly fulfilled and went through properly, and so on and so forth. Well, I'd like to know about these procedures. And as Kemi Badenoch said today, you need to show us all the documents that confirmed to you that Peter Mandelson had no skeletons in his cupboard.
Well, there are no such documents, so she's calling for nothing. It really questions Keir Starmer's judgment. Or for me, they just take us for fools and they actually don't care. They don't care about public perception. They will appoint their cronies and their associates wherever they want. And they take the electorate for fools. They have no respect for voters, and they have no respect for our parliamentary system. That is, as you said, it's one of the most important diplomatic roles, if not the most important diplomatic.
Well, it is the top diplomatic role, without a shadow.
And he's given it to someone who calls one of the most prolific paedophiles of our time his best pal and defended him even after he was convicted.
Yeah.
What was Starmer thinking? Who else is in that position of power in his government that thinks like that? We need to know. And what did he know? He must have known stuff.
Exactly right. Listen, Layla, let's go to break. And when we come back, I want to talk about the migrant crisis, because for the first time in 3 years, a small boat full of migrants has landed on a Kent beach, having not been detected. Got straight across, no border patrol, no RNLI boats, got straight across. It's the first time. It's called an uncontrolled landing, and Labour is now accused of presiding over and I quote, a full-blown border crisis. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned, folks.
I think that people just had enough of him. There's people are more worried about putting their, getting to work and putting the food on their table than another moan. Oh, my brother wasn't as nice to me as he should have been moan, and things like this. I think people have had enough of the Harry and Meghan story, and really, I think if the King did actually see him, what are they going to discuss? Well, I would imagine, what sort of money what payouts he going to get,
I mean, that is frightening, but so true.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Reform Councillor for Westminster, Layla Cunningham. Layla, let's talk about this boat. On Saturday, nearly 1,100 migrants crossed the Channel in about 17 boats. Now, one of the boats got to Kent undetected. It wasn't intercepted by the border police, border patrol, wasn't spotted by the RNLI, and got to a beach on its own. This is the first time. It's called an uncontrolled landing. It's the first time this has happened since December 2022. This is a serious failure, obviously. WAGs are saying it's a failure of the RNLI and the Border Force's renowned water taxi service. But that's pretty worrying. It proves that Labour is increasingly losing control of this crisis. Bearing in mind 1,097 to be accurate on Saturday came across the Channel, which is the second highest number of the year. So no sign that one in, one out, or any of other Keir Starmer's other useless deterrents are actually working.
I mean, Kevin, we've got, like you said, over 1,000 people arriving in a day, and the government still hasn't declared a national emergency, because I won't agree. It's not a border failure. This is a national emergency. How many criminals were in that? Was that a terror cell? Unescorted landing means any landing, effectively, because they're unvetted, but especially those. It could be terrorists, traffickers, rapists, criminals, and they just walk in.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Uncontrolled landing is a giant red flag for our national security. 1,000 men in a day. And people are still pretending that they're asylum seekers.
Yeah, well, they become asylum seekers, don't they? Very, very fast. Listen, Shabana Mahmood is the new Home Secretary. Let's have a listen to her vowing to solve this crisis. Good luck with that, Shabana, but here she goes.
Just days ago, I was appointed Home Secretary with one clear priority: tackling illegal migration. The government has already laid the foundations. We have lifted removals to 35,000 people and struck a historic agreement with France. But the challenge that we face is considerable, and we must go further. That's why I have hosted our Five Eyes allies: America, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. We have discussed the shared challenges that we face from enemies who have no respect for our borders, and we have agreed coordinated action to enforce security and protect our citizens, including tougher sanctions on countries who refuse to take back their own citizens who are living here unlawfully. I know that the British public expects us to bring order and control back to our immigration system, and as Home Secretary, I will do whatever it takes to secure our borders.
Whatever it takes, Layla. Do you think that will include leaving the ECHR? Do you think that might include detaining and deporting everybody who arrives illegally? Do you think it might include turning the boats round? Whatever it takes. She said she'll stop at nothing. There are loads of things she'll stop at, right?
I mean, also, who did she invite for these Five Eyes? She invited Australia, Canada, USA. She says they share the same problems. No, they don't. America literally did what they needed to do. Some people might not agree with it, but illegal migration is down by 97%.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And that's what reform is talking about, doing whatever it takes. But and then when they talk about leaving the ECHR, her leader talks about, oh, we'll be the same as Belarus or some despotic country. That's not true. Every country she just spoke about is not part of the ECHR, and they're not despotic. They're not some autocratic, evil country. So I don't agree with her. I do agree with one thing she said. She said at the end, her role is to bring control to our borders. So she is admitting that right now we have an uncontrolled situation. We have a national emergency, and an unguarded border is not compassion. It is a national threat. We can't run counter-terrorism and spend billions of pounds on MI5 while we let strangers stroll across our beaches. I don't believe she's going to do whatever it takes, because she has a leader that is fundamentally wedded. Remember when he said he preferred Davos to Parliament?
Yeah.
He is wedded to international treaties, his international reputation, more than he is to protecting our people.
Yeah.
And she still didn't address the fact, well, what's she doing about all these unvetted men that they're putting in towns and villages who could be serial rapists at home? Does she address that? No. Look, they're still there. And they're still a threat.
If they don't leave the ECHR as a start-off, now if we leave the European Convention on Human Rights, then we can make our own decisions about what we do with these migrants. If we don't, we can't make our own decisions. So we need to do a lot more than just leave the ECHR, but it has to be the starting point. If we don't leave the ECHR, then we are doomed, or Shabana and Keir Starmer are doomed to do what Labour have been doing ever since they came into power, and that is just tinker around the edges, smash the gangs, one in, one out.
They were the biggest gang smugglers we've known, with the Afghani, squirreling away 7 billion for the Afghani migrants that they had no idea who they were. They were going to put them in the country, who they were allowed to bring untold amount of dependents. The government has no idea, when we really come down to it, who's arriving, where they're going, or what they're capable of. And you, Kevin, you and I know that a state that can't control its border is no longer a sovereign state. And this is what's been going on. And I'm sorry to say, but a government that does not control our borders and keep us safe, its first duty, is no longer legitimate. It is not a legitimate government anymore.
Well, it's certainly, as I say, its reticence to leave the ACHR, its reticence to really get tough, means it's doomed to tinker around the edges. And if you tinker around the edges, you will not solve this crisis. We wish Ms Mahmood well, but so far she's supposed to be hardline and tough. I don't see any of that so far. You know, threatening visa curbs on nations that refuse to take back their migrants. Well, that's not much, is it?
In relation, sorry to Kevin to interrupt, but in relation to that, the nations that are mainly the boats are coming from, which I think Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan, we don't really give them that many visas.
Exactly
anyway.
Right. It's
Right.
just
So that carrot and stick doesn't. We need to stop being a pull factor. I don't understand why they can't get it in their heads. We need to stop being a pull factor. We provide an all-inclusive stay in our country for life. Everyone who's come to that country is effectively the taxpayer's burden now, whereas other countries have. Even those signed up to the ECHR, put them in detention centres, but we're housing them at the taxpayer expense. And when they commit a crime, they get full access to legal aid. I don't know how to explain it, but there must be some deep fundamental hatred for our country for you to put us through this.
It's all wrong, and I don't think the portents are good with Miss Mahmood. We're just going to carry on, as I keep saying, tinkering around the edges. Layla, I've got to go, but great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much for your time. Layla Cunningham there, Reform UK councillor, star on the rise there. We're going to go to break straight away, and when we come back, Rupert Lowe, Independent MP for Great Yarmouth, so stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's Rupert Lowe at 8 o'clock. I almost forgot our next guest. He's my old mate, the Sun's brilliant Sun TV critic, Ali Ross. Hello, Ali.
How quickly they forget.
Yeah,
Kevin.
that's right. I was really excited. I was really excited about getting you on the show, and then I forgot you were on it. But listen, a couple of stories that I don't just want to talk about telly, but it does so happen that our friend Greg Wallace, saying that he will not go quietly, which I found very funny because he's never done anything quietly, has he? You know, just got 2 minutes. Anyway, so he's suing the BBC, launching a multi-million-pound disability claim at the High Court. He says that his autism was ignored, and he's demanding the release of hundreds of pages of alleged secret documents. This is described for the BBC as a nightmare waiting to happen. It's the front page of your paper today. Sacked Wallace sues the BBC. Now, he was found guilty of a fair few, shall we say, indiscretions, inappropriate behaviour after a fairly long investigation at the BBC. But he says, you never took into account my autism. It should be an interesting court case, don't you think?
It will indeed. We're still living in the post-Savile era. I think we will be for a long time yet with the BBC. So something like this happens, they come down very, very hard. And it probably struck a lot of people, not all it's true, because he is undoubtedly an oafish character, but others will have been left thinking, well, what's he actually done here? I possibly felt a bit like a kangaroo court, and if you have a kangaroo court in a democracy, it will eventually be replaced by a proper high court, which is the inevitable place we find ourselves now. And you'll probably have a much better idea of exactly what's gone on at the end of that. But this was all so avoidable if someone, when nearer the start of his stint on MasterChef, had just taken him to one side and said, look, you're acting like a complete jerk here. You're a greengrocer and you've suddenly got a primetime television show. It's gone to your head. For pity's sake, just dial it down, reel yourself in, because this is unsustainable. But at the BBC, presenters and even people of Greg Wallace's limited talent are treated like gods. They think they can get away with everything, and in many cases they do. So this is a crisis entirely of the BBC's own making, and let's face it, it's not going to go away in a hurry now, because they could be left with a huge bill. I say they, it's us, of course, at the end of the day, who will be left with the bill and have to pay for this.
Yeah, so I mean, Tim Davie, the Director General, appeared in Parliament before the Culture Committee yesterday, along with the BBC Chairman Samir Shah. And I mean, I think he was sort of covering his back a bit, but he said, oh yeah, there may well be more scandals, and we'll be all over that. He also revealed something I wasn't quite aware of, it may be new, that he's created a whistleblowers department, which is a place where anyone can go to moan about the stars. So the BBC, more and more, I think, will be a place where celebrities, stars, don't want to work, because it's the place where stars go to get scandalised, where they commit very minor infringements, and before you know where you are, you know, they're sort of cancelled and they're thrown out and demonised and so on and so forth. So Strictly Come Dancing's in big trouble. It seems to lurch from one scandal to the next. We've got, of course, MasterChef. We've also got he was quizzed, of course, yesterday about the Gaza documentary, the one hosted by a Hamas official's son. The BBC neglected to reveal that nuance. And of course also the Glastonbury debacle with Bob Villan and the death to the IDF anti-Semitism. So many scandals, and Tim Davies' reaction to this seems to have been to create a department whereby you can go to create the BBC's next scandal. Do you see what I mean?
It was an extraordinary thing to say. There could well be more. There speaks a man who doesn't have a share price to worry about.
Yeah.
Because if he did, it would have just gone through the floor. And from nowhere, he's created this. Well, who's he talking about? So talk about fanning the flames. And he's got this grass hotline where you can basically dob in a celeb. Probably ringing off the tree.
1-800 BBC Grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the things, some of the accusations he levelled against Greg Wallace, the most serious ones, he was excused, but they did seem somewhat trivial.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a lot of that. It's going to be a busy old line.
Yeah.
You need someone with good shorthand to man that thing.
I'll tell you what. So him and Tarode have been replaced by two women. Didn't see that coming. I didn't expect that. Did you?
No, it's just like the Labour Party, isn't it?
The only thing that does slightly surprise me is that both women, are not in wheelchairs or anything like that, or they're not blind or whatever, because that seems to be something the BBC is rather keen on.
Yeah, or a man dressed as a woman, a man pretending to be a woman.
That's right, they're keen on that as well, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they love that.
Yeah. So. Do you think, Greg, I mean, he was pretty comprehensively kind of exposed, if I can put it that way, in this report, in this investigation. Do you think he stands a chance of embarrassing the BBC or winning this case?
Well, he's certainly going to embarrass the BBC. Whether he's going to win is another question. From a personal point of view, and it's almost an irrelevance, I don't think he should be on MasterChef. I never saw the merits in him anyway as a presenter. It was astonishing that he'd been there about 20 years. And talk about making a little go a long way.
Yeah. He's the only professional eater in the history of television, a fruit and veg man who just sort of bellowed units of time. You got 2 minutes.
What brings you to the High Court, Greg?
Yeah,
you should start it like that.
That's right. Yeah, and then ate the food. Oh, that is lovely. That is lovely.
He liked pretty much everything. And Tarode, actually watching him cook something, I could see the point of it.
Yeah,
I could see the point of him. Greg Wallace, you could pull 50 blokes out of the Market Porter pub and they do just as good a job.
And what do you think about Tarode? I mean, he's gone very silent since he was accused of using.
That all seemed to boil down to one accusation of racism, which he doesn't even remember, and it wouldn't begin to stack up in court if he was charged with that. Several years ago, you're reported as saying, "No, I didn't." The CPS would never dream of bringing a prosecution on the basis of something so flimsy. So I have a degree more sympathy with him than Greg Wallace, certainly. But he also seems like a massive oaf as well. Yeah. So I've just been watching tonight's episode in advance, and it's one of these shows. I really wonder what all the fuss is about. If you've seen one chocolate fondant sagging on MasterChef, you've seen 1,000. You really have.
Yes, it's not a format that gives way to much variety. It's been the same now for, 30 years or something.
I can't see the new pair doing anything with it. Grace Dent's just desperate to be famous. She'd present anything if you offered it. Yeah. Absolutely anything.
Well, we wish them well, but yes, I'll watch it.
Do you? Do you really, Kevin?
Well, yeah. I mean, I won't bother to watch them, but yeah, good luck to them. But I think it might be an uphill climb that they face ahead. Listen, when we come back, Ali, let's talk politics, shall we? Let's talk about the Labour deputy leader race, and also we'll have a look at Labour MP Tom Harris says that that unless Labour deal with the two, what he's used a rather unfortunate term, titanic issues of welfare and immigration, unless they tackle them properly, they will be destroyed. We'll talk about that next, so stay tuned, folks.
I think that people just had enough of him. There's people are more worried about putting their, getting to work and putting the food on their table than another moan, oh, my brother wasn't as nice to me as he should have been moan, and things like this. I think people have had enough of the Harry and Meghan story, and really, I think if the King did actually see him, what are they going to discuss? Well, I would imagine, what sort of money, what payouts are you going to get,
I mean, that is frightening, but so true.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still with the Sun's excellent TV critic, Ali Ross. First of all, Ali, let me ask you what your take is on the bitter battle to replace disgraced Angela Rayner as the Deputy Labour leader. Who would you like to win?
None of them. 6 political giants. We should carve their heads like Mount Rushmore into the Lake District. I know. Politicians define the word mediocrity, but those 6, geez, they're flattered by that description. Bridget Phillipson seems about the least dangerous of them.
Do you think? Do you think? I mean, I think what worries me about that race is Bridget Phillipson's the one who's likely to win. She's a kind of Keir Starmer loyalist, but she's even more left-wing than him. She's very, very... I mean, Trevor Kavanagh, your ex-colleague, former political editor of The Sun, says she's just a full-on Marxist. She's certainly a very, very enthusiastic class warrior.
I'm just looking at it from the point of view of the rest of them. There's one of them sits on the African Reparations Group in Parliament. There's Emily Thornberry, I think is a loathsome character, and someone called McGovern who has got 2 nominations, and she said today that what Labour needs to be is more inclusive.
Of course they do. They always need to be more.
Wow.
She actually is the only one. She's kind of Blairite. She's the right winger, and of course today she's dropped out. So it will be a contest of the lefties. You've got Lucy Powell, former Commons leader, who obviously is furious because Keir Starmer sacked her in his reshuffle last week. You've got someone called Belle Ribeiro Addy, who's extremely left-wing. You've got Dame Emily Thornberry, who's still full of fury against Keir Starmer because she didn't get a job in his government in the first place. And someone called Paula Barker. No, me neither. Yeah, quite a lineup, but hopefully somebody who can't stand Keir Starmer will get the job, so we'll have a lot of friction at the top.
Yeah, your ultimate hope is just whoever gets it just hastens their exit, hopefully at the end of a pitchfork. But just once again, though, with these, everyone said, oh, it has to be a woman, it has to be, and hopefully a northern woman. Why? Why can't it just be the best person for the job? Because this is what gets Labour into so much trouble. Everyone just despises this culture of wokeness, this political correctness, this box ticking. It doesn't strike a chord with any of the voters, certainly not traditional Labour voters. And suffice to say, of the 6, there is, of course, no one that's run their own business, which is half the problem with this cabinet, is that no one understands how the economy actually works. So they just think of us, and every business, every private business, is an endless source of tax funds, which can be frittered away as madly as they wish.
Exactly right, and most of them are vowing to keep the welfare situation as it is. Now, as you know, not so long ago, Labour actually needed to take maybe 10, 20 billion pounds off our welfare bill, but instead, because of a rebellion by the left-wing backbenchers, they ended up actually adding to our welfare bill. Now, the economy cannot take this. Angela Rayner is the one that stepped in to make sure that the welfare bill remained as it was, which is unsustainable for this party. You've got Bridget Phillipson, who also says she doesn't want to do anything about the welfare bill. Bridget Phillipson also wants to keep in place every single element of Angela Rayner's workers' rights bill, which is the workers' rights bill which will make running a business virtually impossible for anyone. So all of these people want to keep that in place. They don't want to reduce the welfare bill. Therefore, Labour's kind of doomed. This is an economic doom loop with all these policies and all these deputy leaders. They seem to think that the money tree would just carry on providing. It won't.
Yeah, and the trouble is we're all going to go down with it. They will raid our pensions, our paychecks, everything. They're taxing ambition. They're taxing any desire to work hard. They're taxing all the good things in life. And eventually they will bankrupt the country, and they'll have to go running off to the IMF like all useless Labour governments do, begging for more money, because they don't understand the simplest concept that you can only spend what you earn. Yeah. And to be fair, the last Tory administration, they were just as bad in many ways. No one cut back on the welfare budget. It's just been allowed to spiral until, you get to the point, if you are working and you're not earning a penny until you reach June because you're paying so much tax, you think, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
Why don't I just join this racket?
Exactly right. Exactly. Our annual welfare bill is £300 billion, and we've got a government that's not doing anything about it. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Let me. Obviously, last week, Keir Starmer lost his fantastic deputy, that colossus of the Labour movement, Angela Rayner, who actually went in disgrace because she's a liar and she cheated on her taxes. She said that she got bad legal advice until she had to admit she got no legal advice. So. She dodged her taxes and lied about the reason. So she went in disgrace, although you wouldn't know it reading The Guardian and The Mirror.
No, exactly. So many people just rushed to defend her before they knew the facts of it. They just assumed because they see Angela Rayner in a very condescending middle-class way as a good thing.
Yeah, working class.
She's so working class. She's just a middle-class liberal idiot's view of what they think working-class people are and should be.
Yeah, so she's gone. So he had to lose her. He fought to keep her, but he had to lose her in the end. Do you think he's going to have to lose Peter Mandelson as well?
It's looking like it. I mean, he's done a Tim Davie and said, look, there's more stuff going to come out here. Yeah. You can't have someone who was friends with a paedophile as ambassador to Washington. Yeah. It's just far too important.
Well, particularly as he stayed friends with him after his conviction for paedophilia in 2008 and wrote him a note saying, oh, we're still all your best friends and I'll poor you and all this kind of stuff. I think it's untenable. And once again, I think Keir Starmer is going to have to lose a very key appointment. Now, this is beginning to look careless, isn't it?
It started looking careless about 6 months ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
When you had to sack the fraud minister for having a fraud conviction.
Yeah, and then there was the homelessness minister who made all of her tenants homeless. It's getting ridiculous. But with Mandelson, no offence, Ali, I was saying this earlier, those of us who are old enough to remember Mandy's heyday in the new Labour Blairite days, Mandelson being in a scandal became almost boring. It was like every week. He was always in scandals. He was fired twice from the cabinet, and here we are again. That's why Starmer should never have given him this job. He is a penchant for scandals.
Oh yeah, there was just always a whiff of sulphur about him, and this sense that we couldn't write everything we knew about him. But it just gave off a bad smell.
Yeah, it really did. If Starmer loses Mandelson, and I think it's looking very dodgy now. I think it's on the edge. What a catastrophe for him. Two major players in 2 weeks. This government is falling apart at the seams.
An election cannot come quick enough.
Exactly, but I'm thinking we might have to wait 4 years, maybe 2. Fingers crossed. Ali, brilliant to talk to you. Come on again soon. That is the excellent Ali Ross, the TV critic of The Sun. I mentioned him a bit earlier, rather too early actually, but after the break we will be joined by the independent MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe. So stick around for that, folks. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. And in about half an hour, we're going to be taking your calls. You know what we're talking about. Peter Mandelson, the spiralling migrant crisis, the fact that a migrant boat for the first time in 3 years has made it to our beaches, to our shores, unchallenged. Nobody saw it, undetected. It made it all the way to a Kent beach without the border force or even the RNLI noticing. So they now stand accused, the Labour government, of losing a full-blown border crisis. So let me know what you think about that. 03444 99 1000. Should Peter Mandelson resign? Should he be fired? Let me know. But for the next half an hour, we're going to spend it in the excellent company of the independent MP for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe. Welcome, Rupert.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? I've just been told to shift to my left a bit, but anyway, I'm sure this will be fine.
Shift to your left. Yeah, a lot of people say that about you, don't they?
Not fair, is it?
I can't see that happening anytime soon, Rupert. Let me ask you first. Let me get your take first. I want to talk about these 200 migrants who are suing the government for being held in what they say were inhumane conditions. But first, let me get your take on Peter Mandelson. I mean, this is getting murkier by the moment. Keir Starmer heroically tried to defend him in Parliament yesterday, but I think it's looking to me as if his position is becoming increasingly untenable. We now know that he sent him loving notes after he was convicted in 2008 of soliciting a minor, a paedophile offence. He also stayed at his apartment after he was convicted. He even helped broker a big business deal with Epstein. So his friendship, his close friendship, his best pal, his close friendship with his best pal, Jeffrey Epstein, was not at all affected by his conviction for paedophilia. This is, I would suggest, increasingly untenable for a man who holds the position of Britain's most senior diplomat, our ambassador to America. Can he carry on?
Well, you probably saw we put out a tweet this evening, Kevin. We think he should resign. Peter Mandelson ultimately has a history of this sort of thing. If you're old enough, like me, you can remember when he failed to declare a mortgage he'd taken off Jeffrey Robinson. He didn't disclose it either to Parliament or to the mortgage company that he'd taken the mortgage out with. And his department at the time was investigating Jeffrey Robinson for, misfeasance. So I think he has a checkered history. He called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. He said publicly that Donald Trump was a danger to the world. And at the end of the day, the Americans have described him as a moron. So quite why Keir Starmer thought he was the right person to be the American ambassador, I'm not sure. And given that the FCA, our regulator, chose to set itself up in moral judgment on Jez Staley for his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, why is it okay then for Peter Mandelson, who used to share huge amounts of hospitality with Jeffrey Epstein, indeed his boyfriend visited Jeffrey Epstein's establishment, and there are pictures of them on a boat sending Jeffrey Epstein best wishes. So no, I think it was a very ill-advised appointment. I had some very good questions from Kemi Badenoch in the House today. He was asked exactly what process was followed before this appointment was made, and would the House be made aware of exactly what information was made available. I think it was an appalling appointment. Mandelson is part of the cabal which laid heffalump traps, which ultimately has undermined the sovereignty of Parliament. empowered a malign judiciary and damaged the interests of the British people more than almost any group of people. So him, Blair, Campbell, and Brown, and they're the ones who've done all the damage, Kevin. So it was a bad appointment in the first place, and with all this stink now surrounding him, I frankly think he should just quietly disappear.
Starmer in Parliament, I mean, Kemi Badenoch, I thought actually yesterday for once did quite well, really put him on the rack.
No, I agree. She did that was she did very well. That was today.
Yes, of course it was. It was earlier today, wasn't it? I was commenting on it. I should remember that.
Prime Minister's question. It's Wednesday today, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where the hell I am today. But seriously, she did well putting him on the rack. And her line of questioning was, tell us about the vetting process. I mean, when you just take on board that this guy, Mandelson, during his New Labour heyday, was fired not once, but twice by Tony Blair, the then Prime Minister, for wrongdoing. First of all, as you say, the dodgy mortgage from Geoffrey Robinson, the richest man in the Labour Party then. And then, of course, he organised this passport for the Hinduja brothers, the very wealthy Indian tycoons. That got him fired as well. You would have thought with that kind of background, a Prime Minister, shall we say Keir Starmer, might have said, well, I think maybe not for Britain's top diplomatic role, our man in Washington, and yet there he is. This was, I mean, appalling judgment it was terrible judgment by Peter Mandelson to continue his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein on a kind of Prince Andrew scale, really, staying in touch with him, staying pally with him after his paedophile offence, his paedophile conviction, and I would suggest terrible judgment by this Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, for appointing him to this role.
Well, I think he described Jeffrey Epstein as a very good host. Yum yum, I think he said, didn't he?
Yes.
So he obviously enjoys the good life, and the question is, how sound is his judgment? And I think, as you say, over the sort of period of his career, it's proven not to be totally sound. As I say, it's an extraordinary appointment. And he does appear to be part of this cabal, which has, I think, undermined Parliament's function and done irreparable damage to Britain. But they're like a sort of rubber ball, Kevin. They seem to be able to get away with doing the most terrible things and the most terrible misjudgments. And yet it seems that the selection process that's pursued by our great leaders puts its hand into an increasingly small jar and pulls out a ball with the same numbers on it. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Mandelson is, over the years, he has proved he's got this real penchant. He's mesmerised by very wealthy men. And over the years, it has been proved that if you're a wealthy person, you give him flash holidays, you let him stay in your posh properties, you allow him to live in billionaire style, he will be in your pocket. This man, frankly, over the years has proved to be bribable. And that is not right for a man who is now our ambassador to Washington, is it?
Well, I think it was a terrible appointment, as I say. I mean, to call Donald Trump a danger to the world. I know he tried to, when he was in the frame for the appointment, tried to back out of that and backtrack on what he'd said. But I think if deep down, does anybody believe that that's not what Peter Mandelson thinks about Donald Trump? I think probably it is what he thinks about Donald Trump. He wouldn't have said it if it wasn't. So what a terrible appointment. I mean, our relationship with the US is one of the most important relationships that we should have. And we should be picking people who are going to foster the relationship, not people who've got a track record of damaging it. And, it's extraordinary. And now these revelations have come out, and it's clear that there were, as you say, relationships which the FCA seemed to think in Jez Staley's case were unsound, having made their moral judgments. Why does it apply to a financier and not a politician? It should apply to both.
Yeah, and I mean, Do you think he will go? I mean, it looks to me that he must be on the precipice here. And if he does go, this will be 2 major appointments in 2 weeks that Keir Starmer has lost. And this government seems chaotic enough as it is. But if after Angela Rayner went last week, and now if Mandelson goes this week, I mean, this is catastrophic, isn't it?
Well, all of them have made some pretty poor decisions. I mean, Angela Rayner clearly was a bad decision, and the route to her downfall always was going to be the advisors who she said had given her advice, but she failed to say she hadn't actually taken.
She didn't have any advisors.
Tax advice. She tried to blame the conveyancers for what had happened, and they quite rightly came out and said, well, we did advise that she needed independent tax advice, which is what you do need. I mean, equally, she had an issue, if you remember, with, it wasn't a police issue. She was reported to the police. The police dropped the case. The issue previously was an HMRC issue, not a police issue.
Yeah.
And therefore, she was reported to the wrong authority. And arguably, she should have reported herself to HMRC on that last occasion. So, look, I look at the front bench, Kevin, and I just think to myself, the country is not in safe hands. They are not capable of holding these civil servants, and particularly the permanent secretaries, who ultimately indulge their own woke fantasies at the expense of the British taxpayer, and they're not being held to account by a front bench who's supposed to basically act like a board holding to account those people who are public servants.
Absolutely. Listen, Rupert, let's go to break now because there's a couple of other important migration stories that I need to discuss with you. So we'll do that after these messages. I'm still with Rupert Lowe. Stick around, folks.
I think that people just had enough of him. There's people are more worried about putting their, getting to work and putting the food on their table than another moan, oh, my brother wasn't as nice to me as he should have been moan, and things like this. I think people have had enough of the Harry and Meghan story, and really, I think if the King did actually see him, what are they going to discuss? Well, I would imagine, what sort of money, what payouts he going to get,
I mean, that is frightening, but so true.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Huge story breaking in America, in Utah. Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, a very famous individual, close ally of Donald Trump, has been hosting an event in Utah, as I say, and he's been shot in the head and the neck during a debate. It was about 15-20 minutes ago, and it is thought that poor Charlie Kirk may well be dead. There's video footage of it doing the rounds, and we will keep you posted with what the hell is going on there. But an extraordinary, shocking event. Charlie Kirk, a very, very well-known conservative influencer over there, a key Donald Trump ally, executive director of the Turning Point USA organization, has been shot while hosting a debating event in Utah. We will keep you posted. It is feared he is dead. So we will get onto that story, and we'll bring you all the details as they unfold. Major, major story. Let's go back to Rupert Lowe. Rupert, I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if you've ever met Charlie Kirk, but a shocking incident over there in Utah.
It's terrible, Kevin. We have actually wished him well online. I do hope he's okay. We don't know what the latest is, as you say, but hopefully he will come through and he'll make it. But it is the risk you run if you're a politician and you put yourself up in the front line. And there are people out there who don't like what you're saying. So he's very unfortunate, and hopefully it will all come right for him.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes into a presentation when shots were heard, fired from a nearby building, apparently. And Donald Trump has already written on his Truth Social website, media site, we must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. J.D. Vance, the Vice President, tweeted to say a prayer for Charlie Kirk, a genuinely good guy and a young father. Also, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has said exactly the same. Prayers for Charlie Kirk, an incredible Christian, American and human being. May the healing hand of Jesus Christ be upon him. I mean, isn't it a sad reality about politics today, particularly in America, that this sort of thing happens, Rupert? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we would show you the video of what's happened there, but it's incredibly graphic, so we cannot show that to you. You really don't want to really don't want to see it. A spokesman for Utah Valley University Police confirmed that shots were fired on the campus. They said, what we know currently is that Charlie Kirk was about 20 minutes into his presentation when we heard shots fired from a nearby building, and to the best of our knowledge, he was hit and taken with his security team away from the premises, and the courtyard was cleared. Rupert, we're going to have to stick with this story, but I was just saying when you dropped offline there, isn't it a sad reality of modern politics that this sort of thing happens?
Yeah. No, it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. I was just saying we've sent a message, but hopefully he'll make it. But it's, as you say, it's not clear exactly how he is. So let's, I think everybody's thoughts and prayers are with him, and hopefully he'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I've got to say it's not looking good. There is a video out there that we're not going to show to our audience. They really don't want to see it. It's incredibly graphic, and it does not look good. Ironically, just before these shots ran out, Kirk had tweeted, "We are so back. Utah Valley University is fired up and ready for the first stop back on the American comeback tour." I mean, why does this happen? I mean, it's an American thing, but it happens around the world. Why do people shoot politicians?
Well, I've had a few death threats myself, Kevin. So, you know, as I said, when we were so rudely interrupted by some form of internet outage,
Yeah.
I think it's, if you put yourself forward and you try and represent common sense and decency, and you actually express your opinions honestly, you always put yourself at risk of being hurt or damaged by people who don't share the same view. That is terribly sad, because I think the essence of certainly our British Constitution is that we should all be able to exercise free speech, disagree, and through honest, frank debate, get at the truth. And if people feel they have to actually harm each other physically, then we've all lost a lot, because the truth then ultimately gets suppressed, and we don't live in a society which is based on truth. And I've always said, if you look at communism, or you look at any form of socialism, it tends to repress the truth. And I've always said that the qualification you needed to survive in communist Russia was to be a very good liar. And the biggest problem I think they faced when they became when the wall came down was people got so used to lying to each other that it was very difficult for society to function normally. So, yeah, look, this is a terrible development. It has happened in America on many occasions. I've always been fascinated by the Kennedy assassination. Again, quite where the truth lies there, I don't think any of us really know. But it is a hazard of being upfront, honest, and trying to change things for the better.
Indeed. And I mean, is this a sort of, as you just mentioned, the Kennedy assassination, so it goes back to 1963 and of course before, but is politics becoming more aggressive, more dangerous? Is the debate, the political debate, the narrative becoming more dangerous for those who like, not trying to sort of cite you, but like people like yourselves who can be provocative? I mean, why has that become a dangerous thing to do?
Well, I'm not sure I am provocative, Kevin. I just tell it as it is. And, you know, obviously things like the rape gang stain on Britain's history over the last 25 years. The question is, why was it suppressed? Why was the rule of law not operating properly? And why weren't people being honest? So in order to get at the truth, you have to basically first out what's been going wrong and have an examination of why it went wrong. So we're a long way from that yet. As you know, we've got our rape gang inquiry. We're hoping to have the hearing in November and produce a report after that. But the government promised a statutory inquiry over 2 months ago now. As far as I'm aware, we haven't had any terms of reference, and we haven't had any plan, or we haven't had any form of communication telling us exactly how it's going to happen. So again, I don't think the Labour Party wants to have this statutory inquiry, because they ultimately are the people who probably going to suffer most from it.
Yeah, they haven't given us any information about it. Do we know?
Nothing yet.
When's it going to start? You know,
we've chased it, but having announced it and hit the headlines with it, we're ploughing on with ours. We were told by various people we should drop ours. Now the government's going to do it, but we're not. We're going to hold them to account and continue with it.
Very quickly, Rupert, can I, we're going to return to the Charlie Kirk story, if I just talk to the audience here for a second, soon after the break. But there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you domestically before we return to what's going on in America, Rupert. What do you make of these 200 migrants who were processed at the Manston Airport Processing Centre in Kent? They're in line, apparently, for millions of pounds of compensation after suing the government for being detained in allegedly inhumane conditions. This was after they crossed the channel illegally to unlawfully break into Britain. Why are we allowing them to do this? Why are the UK taxpayers paying for their lawyers to sue this government? Can't we stop this? This is nonsense, isn't it?
Well, I think the answer to that, Kevin, is that as I mentioned earlier, Tony Blair and his cohorts have undermined Parliament and undermined the British legal system. So it's all very well for laws to be passed in Parliament, and you know, I voted last night against this ridiculous second reading of the Chagos Islands surrender, which is another blot on this administration's record. So what happens is you end up with laws being passed in Parliament, which ultimately in 2016 people voted for a sovereign Parliament in Westminster, which governed from in the interests of the British people and in the interests of the British taxpayer, as you say. What happens is you get these illegal migrants. I mean, in my book, illegal means illegal. They come here illegally. There are a lot of them living here illegally. There are a lot of foreign criminals in our prisons who have committed crimes here. And what happens is they go to this woke judiciary that we've now got, which I think is also pretty dishonest now. I mean, I'm having some issues with the Bar Standards Board. That's supposed to be their regulator. They've been criticised heavily. They're out of time or overtime in my case. So I think what happens is you get cases coming before our judges, and our judges put the global law ahead of British law. So they would rather take their sustenance from the ECHR or other globalist agenda rather than British law, which should trump everything else, in my opinion. So I think this is the issue we've got about wrestling back control of Parliament by the elected MPs and taking it back from the permanent secretaries and from the judiciary and from people who are unelected and from all the quangos that Blair and his cronies effectively, very cleverly used to undermine Parliament's sovereignty. So, and interestingly, Restore Britain, which you know is my movement, which has had a tremendous response. And this is quite significant. We've actually started in the last 24 hours our own vote amongst our membership, an actual direct democracy vote. And the first vote is on mass deportation of illegal migrants. And you won't be surprised to know that thousands of people have now voted. The system's working extremely well. And it's an almost unanimous response in favour of detaining and deporting people who live here illegally, who come here illegally, and obviously of foreign criminals in our prisons. So, you know, Restore Britain, not only have we now got our whistleblowing line for public sector abuse of taxpayer funds, which is throwing up some fascinating things which I can share with you in due course. We've also now got this vote. We're going to close it tomorrow. And I think the results of it are going to be fascinating. So if people want to start participating in a more direct democratic movement, which is what Restore Britain is, it's not a party, it's trying to unify common sense and trying to hold to account a civil service and a government that is no longer, I think, operating in the interests of the British people, but operating in its own interest. Okay. So we've got to start this, and the more people who sign up to Restore Britain, the more people who vote in these polls, we're going to also open up the whole platform so that people can feed in their own suggestions of putative policy. I think, you know, we've been putting forward policy, and we'll have votes on lots of different policies. So I think the fight back is starting, Kevin, but there's the sort of weight of this long period of undermining of Parliament it makes it very difficult. And the only way it's going to change is if the majority of the decent British people who still work hard, pay their taxes, and have some form of national pride, which is, I think, reflected in the flags that are flying everywhere. And I'm putting a couple up on my farm to show that I share that view. We want this pride. We've got to see it. And if the majority of people share it peacefully, they will have an influence on this little elite who have done so much damage to Britain.
Absolutely, Rupert. Well said, Rupert. Listen, I'm sorry we got interrupted by, you know, the news cycle, as it were, but it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Rupert Lowe there, the independent MP for Great Yarmouth. When we come back, we're going to talk to Freddie Gray from The Spectator, their American expert, about what's going on in Utah. This looks as if Conservative influence, a very close ally of Donald Trump. A high-profile political campaigner, Charlie Kirk, obviously a very conservative right-wing, has been shot in the head and the neck in Utah during a debate at the university there. There is a video circulating and it does not look good. The word is, we're just hearing this, that he might be dead. But certainly he's been very gravely wounded, and we have had tributes already from Donald Trump, from J.D. Vance, and pouring in from all over the world now. But this is a shocking event, and we will return to it after this break. So stick around, folks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now we are trying to cover this immense story in America. Charlie Kirk, a very close ally of Donald Trump, a good friend of his, and also a close ally of J.D. Vance, conservative influencer, very, very famous guy, is hosting this debate event at Utah University. He has been shot, and many fear he may be dead. Let's try and put this guy into position. Let's try and find out all about him with the American expert at the Spectator, the deputy editor, Freddie Gray. Welcome, Freddie.
Good evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Try to put this in context. I mean, as I say, there's a video going round and it doesn't look good for Charlie Kirk. It's a very graphic video, and the fear is that this guy could be dead. If he's not dead, he's very, very gravely injured. Tell us about his position in the political firmament over in America.
Well, Charlie Kirk is widely recognised as the sort of young leader of Young MAGA, Young Make America Great, the movement. He founded something called Turning Point USA, which is a very, very important part of the Trump movement. And it's where young people who support Trump go. And he's very famous because he's a big media figure. And he's very good at arguing. And he goes around campuses in American universities and argues with people. People come up, take a microphone, and try and sort of harangue him. And he's famous for sort of owning woke people with arguments. And so a lot of people love him for that. A lot of people hate him for that. This shooting took place in Utah. He was doing one of these events. It seems the images look very, very bad. Watching it, I don't advise anyone to watch it, but I have watched it. It looks almost unimaginable that he might have survived. However, I did just speak to somebody who spoke to his team, who says that he's alive, although he has lost a lot of blood. So everybody who has a heart or a soul is praying that he pulls through, but we don't know yet.
What will it mean for the Conservative, the Republican movement, if we do lose Charlie Kirk?
Well, I think it will be seen as just another example of how violent American politics can be. We don't know anything about the shooter yet, and it's too early to speculate about what the motives might have been. There is someone in custody, we understand, but we don't know anything more than that. But certainly, American politics is always febrile. Remember, of course, that Donald Trump was very nearly killed by an assassin in the run-up to the election last year. There's also a lot of talk in America about this horrific crime of a Ukrainian refugee woman being stabbed to death on the metro. So it feels, on the light rail, I should say, in Charlotte, North Carolina. So America is always febrile, and sometimes it feels like these things all sort of happen in groups. And Donald Trump will be very concerned about this. He knows Charlie quite well. He's often called him the most, influential young person in America. Him and his advisors talked to Charlie Kirk about the youth vote. In fact, Charlie Kirk was very important in winning a lot of young voters in the election last year. He's a very influential media figure and very popular on the MAGA right. He has enemies, though, as I said.
Yeah, I mean, is he the sort of character? I mean, I've come across him myself, but I'm not an expert on him by any means. But he is the sort of character who thrives on controversy. He's confrontational. That's his act, really, isn't it? So that presumably has arisen very high emotions around him. Presumably that's the reason for this assassination attempt.
He is controversial in the sense that he is very interested in debate and verbal sparring. Obviously, that's not an invitation for anyone to try and kill him. But I think he came to Britain earlier this year. He came to Oxford and Cambridge and did some debates there, and he wrote a piece about it for The Spectator, where he was quite sort of baffled by how, as he saw it, blindly woke the Oxford and Cambridge students were. I think he was kind of horrified by how bad some of them were at arguing. He prides himself on being very good at arguing, and he is, certainly. If you watch any of his clips, he's very clever in the way that he quickly deconstructs arguments. He has a very popular podcast, which is listened to by a lot of people in American conservative circles. He's widely respected as a very sharp operator and a very switched-on sort of verbal battler. But he's not. I mean, I'm sure people will try and paint him as far right. In fact, the real far right in America actually despise him because of his support of Israel. So he's not going. If people try and paint him as a sort of far right provocateur, I think that would be very unfair.
I mean, let's hope, fingers crossed, that he makes a full recovery. What if he does? What kind of future in American politics would you predict for him? I mean, as you say, very eloquent, an extremely skilled debater. He enjoys the political narrative. Good-looking guy. That's important in America. Good head of hair, all of that. Could have had a golden future, perhaps still will.
Well, Steve Bannon has talked about him. Steve Bannon, of course, Donald Trump's former chief advisor in his first administration, a very important kind of prophet-like figure for the Make America Great Again movement. He's talked about Charlie Kirk as a possible future president. And certainly there's a lot of people who backed Turning Point. Turning Point's a very well-funded organisation, who think of him as a future political star. He hasn't actually gone directly into politics so far, but it's often said that he will. And he is thought of as not the next election or the one after, but maybe after that. A possible presidential candidate.
Apparently, even more tragically, Kirk's wife and 2 children were all present at this event, so they may have witnessed this terrible event. I mean, trying to sum up, this is all a bit crass in a sense, Freddie, but as you alluded to earlier, I mean, this is the American pageant, or shall we say, the rancid side of the American pageant. It just keeps on happening, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you're quite right to say it sounds a bit crass, and it's very hard to do media commentary without sounding crass in these moments. But American politics has a very long history of violence. There's no denying that. It is part of American political life and has been for a long time. It's very sad, it's very awful, but it's nonetheless true. And the fact that Charlie Kirk's family were there, it makes it obviously even more shocking. But it's really almost mind-boggling, a horrifying video to watch. And I think, the trouble with social media is that you very quickly, because of camera phones and so on, very quickly you can see awful crimes happening. And I think it becomes a bit ghoulish to look at it. I mean, I feel bad I've watched it myself, so I'm not preaching. But it is quite ghoulish the way that we all consume videos of these horrific violent events and share them around like a kind of illicit material.
Exactly right. People will watch this for all the wrong reasons. I don't recommend it. I really don't. That's why we're not showing it to our audience. Just as you probably don't know her, but our royal correspondent over there, Kinsey Schofield, who was due to come on the show actually around about now to talk about Prince Harry going to see the King today. Well, she's unable to come on because it turns out she was a very, very close friend of Charlie Kirk. Of course, I said, oh, well, great, let's get her on to talk about Charlie, and she can't. She's absolutely distraught. So there's a kind of personal connection there. Can you tell us, Kirk was on something called the American Comeback Tour, and this is part of his organisation Turning Point USA, TPUSA. He's a executive director of that organisation. What do you know about Turning Point USA?
Well, Turning Point USA, the reason it's called Turning Point is the idea that America is at a turning point where it's going to reject a lot of the politics that Charlie Kirk feels has held back America for a long time, has stripped America of some of its greatness. And this ties in very neatly with the message of Donald Trump. It is actually catered to appeal to the message of Donald Trump. And he was very involved in the election campaign, as I say. He was effectively the youth coordinator for the Trump 2024 election campaign. And whereas in 2020, there was a lot of dissatisfaction with how that aspect of the Trump campaign operated. There was a feeling among Trump people that they would be able to win a lot of young voters, and they didn't win quite as many as they hoped to do. But in 2024, with Charlie Kirk really being the figurehead of their youth outreach, they did win a lot of young voters, which horrifies people who don't like Donald Trump. But Charlie Kirk was very much behind that. And as I say, he has enemies on the right as well as on the left. So I don't think we should necessarily jump to any conclusions about who the shooter might be. But he's an instrumental part of the conservative movement as it is under Donald Trump, which is to say the Trumpist movement.
And you'll doubtless be planning one of your excellent pieces in The Spectator about this, or maybe in some other publication. I mean, how will you position this in terms of significance?
Well, I hope he pulls through and everybody says what a close shave that was. But I think, yeah, it's another shocking incident. And the fact that this video will go around and will be seen by everyone. You see already people on social media, people in sort of Trump world and conservative circles saying, this has got to stop. We need to fight back. We need to stick up for our right to speak. This is a literal attempt to silence someone who's speaking. I think it will be very galvanizing for a movement that's pretty angry about how America has gone before Trump and wants to complete Trump's mission. I think there'll be a lot of that kind of talk on social media. I think you'll probably hear it from Donald Trump himself. It's all about, for them, it's all about patriotism and loving your country and trying to make America great again. And they see that as a sort of very high calling. And I think they see Charlie Kirk as somebody who is an ambassador of that movement.
Well, let's fingers crossed for Charlie. We wish that he pulls through. And thank you so much, Freddie, for coming on at such short notice. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Freddie Gray, the Deputy Editor of The Spectator, their American expert, as I say, no doubt planning an article about this. But, oh, my God, what an event. So we're going to go to break now. When we come back, we're going to talk to Errol Moorcoach, who is from the Republican Overseas Organisation here in London, American-based here, who was a very, very close, or is a very close friend of Charlie Kirk. So we'll get Errol's take after this break. Stay tuned.
I think that people just had enough of him. There's people are more worried about putting their, getting to work and putting the food on their table than another moan, oh, my brother wasn't as nice to me as he should have been moan, and things like this. I think people have had enough of the Harry and Meghan story, and really, I think if the King did actually see him, what are they going to discuss? Well, I would imagine, what sort of money, what payouts are going to get,
I mean, that is frightening, but so true.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We are covering the assassination attempt on Charlie Kirk, the famous conservative influencer, very close ally of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance over in Utah. He's on a tour, a debating tour of the states. He's in Utah University, and somebody shot him from a building they think about 200 meters away. And he's been shot, they think in the head or the neck, maybe both. A lot of blood. There's a video circulating. We're not going to show it to you. It is too graphic. It looks very bad for him, but we're hearing he may still be alive. Earlier, it was reported an hour or so ago that he was dead, but the word is he may have survived. So he's lost a lot of blood, but of course we've got our fingers crossed and we wish him all the best. We're waiting to talk to Errol Moorcoach, a friend of this show. We talk to Errol a lot. He's based here in London. He's from the Republican Overseas Organisation here in the capital, in Britain. So he's a very close friend of Charlie Kirk. So we're waiting to talk to Errol. In the meantime, Dan from Liverpool has phoned up about this incident. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Kevin. I really wish I could be speaking to you under better circumstances.
Oh, God, it's awful, isn't it?
You know, I'm getting really worried about what's happening to not just America, but the UK and the world. And genuinely, when people can't even have conversations anymore about stuff like this happening, how long is it going to be before something like this starts to happen here more and more?
Well, I mean, we can't say, I mean, it's not exactly unheard of, is it, sort of political violence in this country. It's always been worse in America. But I think the worry here, Dan, is that the political narrative, the debate, is turning more caustic by the day. Politics used to be reasonably civilized, certainly in this country, even in America, with obvious exceptions, you know, Kennedy, etc. But it's getting worse. It's getting worse, and it's almost as if people don't seem to be able to disagree with people without, you know, losing it. You know, we seem to have lost, or more and more people seem to have lost the ability to debate in a civilised fashion.
I genuinely blame the BBC and Channel 4 for a lot of this and other, I'm going to say, more left-leaning shows. I long for the days where we used to have debates with Margaret Thatcher and politicians could just have civil conversations. There was a great image I saw, I believe it was a month ago, and it just had a picture of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, and it said, "I voted to remain, I voted to stay. That's good, let's go back to the pub."
Well, yeah, that'll be the day when that happens. That's the problem. Actually, the Brexit debate is a good point, that, Dan. That was one of the key sort of developments, I think, in political discourse in this country. It's where it all turned really, really bitter, and it continues to divide the country in a very caustic way, I think.
It feels like since 2016, since Brexit, since Trump won, something has just snapped in people, and I'm just going to leave it at this. People need to start to learn how to talk again and get back together. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the march in London on the 13th. I just hope everyone is civil, because the last thing we need is potential.
Well, there's several marches on this weekend, so and there will be clashing interests. So let's hope they all go down peacefully. But yes, you're right, Dan. Listen, Dan, very, very sad moment to talk to you, but let's keep our fingers crossed and pray for Charlie Kirk. Whatever your politics, that guy does not deserve to die. All he did with his time was to debate. He had a viewpoint. Nobody deserves to be shot for their political opinions. It's very, very wrong. Dan, thank you for an excellent call. Thanks for getting in touch. That's Dan in Liverpool. We're getting some quite a few texts. There's a name on this one. I better not read it out, but they are naming the shooter, the alleged shooter. He is apparently a registered Democrat. I'm going to take legal advice on whether or not I can use that name, but we are hearing that the shooter, I've got a name, but I have not got that confirmed, so I'm being careful here. But we are hearing that the shooter could be a registered Democrat in the state of Utah, which will make it that much worse, wouldn't it? I suppose in some senses, in a tragic sense, that isn't that surprising. So if that is true, Charlie Kirk has been shot by a political opponent, by someone who did not share his political worldview, which is pretty typical, but obviously most people don't go that far, but that is a terrible thing. Josh Walker, Earl sent me the name of this potential shooter. Josh Walker has sent me one saying, I hope everything works out for Kirk. Charlie Kirk, that is, with the government. They need to, this government, our government, they need to call a snap election. They are finished. If only, Josh. This is from Stefan. He's just saying, he's just sort of informing us. He's saying Charlie Kirk, activist, shot and possibly killed in Utah. Got another one here from Joanna. She says it looks like Charlie Kirk was hit in the jugular vein. Let's hope it's not as serious as that. If it's the jugular vein, he's in trouble. Certainly they are saying, or the video that I don't advise anyone looks at is extremely graphic, and one thing we do know, we don't know if Charlie Kirk has survived, but one thing we do know is that he has lost an awful lot of blood. Here's another message from Chris. Such bad news about Charlie Kirk. When you look at politicians like John McDonnell saying Farage is like Hitler, this is what starts all this vile hate. I mean, that's a good point. I think it's a bit unfair to actually bring up this little debate at this point, but it is that kind of rhetoric that leads to this kind of violence. You know, when you stop saying, well, I don't agree with Nigel Farage, and you start saying Nigel Farage is like Adolf Hitler, it does lead you down a very, very dark path, doesn't it? Chris goes on to say this vile hate is happening in America. Liberals saying the same about Democrats, pushing hate onto these lunatics' heads. Good God, politics has become filth and full of hate. Well, the hate comes from both sides, doesn't it? You know, the left and the right. Let's quickly, before we go to the news, let's talk about Martin. Let's talk to Martin in Cambridge. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Kevin. Glad to see you back. Yeah, it's basically about the immigration thing and, you know, society and communities and all the rest of it. Now, I live in a little market town just north of Cambridge, and we've seen a lot more, shall we say, people that we aren't used to. Yeah. That's not a problem in itself, but these people must be in, you know, multiple occupation houses because they were in a local hotel.
Well, that's what's going to be happening more and more, Martin. You know, they've been in asylum seeker hotels, now coming soon to a home of multiple occupation near you. That's what we're going to have to get used to. Martin, really quick call, but I've got to go because I've got the news coming up. But give me a call tomorrow. Let's have a proper chat. Good to talk. Sorry to cut you off so quickly. Listen, we're going to go to break now. We'll have the news and then we'll talk to Errol Moore, coach, American, very close friend of Charlie Kirk. So stay tuned for that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We've abandoned our schedule to concentrate entirely on a shocking event in Utah, in America, where the influential podcaster, the conservative influencer, close friend of and ally of President Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, has been shot in the neck. I've just looked at the video. I don't advise it, but it is a shocking incident, blood pouring from his neck. And we thought at first that he may be dead. We're not sure at all whether he's dead or not, but the word is he may have survived. This is a man with millions of followers on social media. He hosts his own podcast and was on a tour of universities and venues all over America, hosting debates. He loves to debate, and he sort of spreads the Trumpian word, if you like. Now we're going to talk now. As I said earlier, we were hoping to talk to Kinsey Schofield, our royal guru over there in Los Angeles, who's a very, very close friend of Charlie, and our sympathy to Kinsey. She's just literally, I've been trying to persuade her, trust me, she is literally too distraught to talk. So sometimes you get a kind of personal connection to this kind of incident, and we may well get one now as well, because we're going to speak to a spokesman for the Republican Overseas Organisation here in London, a close friend of Charlie Kirk, Errol Moorcoach. Errol, thanks for joining us at short notice. First of all, your thoughts?
Well, it's what can you say? This is the repetition of left-wing violence on our movement. Charlie Kirk was somebody who cared a great deal about free speech, not just in the United States, but he cared about it in the UK, and that's where I met Charlie when I helped play a small role in launching Turning Point UK with him. And Charlie, above all else, he cared about debate. He cared about coming to these kind of places where it's unfriendly environments, places where maybe some of us have gone and done things, but never to the level Charlie did, never with the level of passion that he did. And now he's took on the challenges. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you put yourself out there. You get shot at. People will try to kill you. They'll try to kill an idea. And that's never worked. It's never worked against our enemies. It's not going to work against people of faith. It's not going to work against an ideology. But that's what we're up against. We're coming with debate and questions, and they're coming with bullets and armor. And now we have a very good man in the hospital today.
This happened at Utah Valley University, I think now about an hour and a half ago, something like that. Tragically or shockingly, his wife and children were there, his two kids, and may well have witnessed this awful event. We've got a name, but I'm not going to reveal it yet because it hasn't been confirmed. But we understand that the shooter may well have been a registered Democrat. Again, not confirmed, but we are looking into that, obviously. But tell us, you worked with Charlie. Tell us about him. What kind of a guy was he?
He was such a kind guy. I mean, I just played a very small role, with him, and for a short period of time in my life, I had the pleasure of being somebody who was close to him, and taxied with him and was friends with them, and we, he welcomed me to come with him to Mar-a-Lago and to be part of the world he was building. I remember sitting down with him in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in London and telling him, some of my plans, and immediately we vibed, and immediately he said, "You're the kind of guy who I want to be doing this with, and I want you to be part of our team." And just a small part. I wasn't big cog in the wheel, but just to be included and to be able to do something with somebody who I had a lot of respect for, and somebody who was taking that movement forward. It meant a lot to me, and it was great to work with him. He was professional. He was kind. He is professional. He is kind. He is, and he is going to make it through this. We all know that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Charlie. He was a guy who brought people in. And even if you disagreed with him, if you sat down with him for 10 or 20 minutes, you might walk away and be like, man, I hate that I disagree with him. But he never made you feel small. He never made you feel bad about your opinions. And he always let you speak if you disagreed with him. Now, I happen to agree with him. So maybe a little bit easier relationship than some of the videos we would see on the internet when he's combative. But even then, you saw the great respect he had for debate. And you know, in the personal situations, I remember being in Mar-a-Lago with him just in a private moment. We were just laughing about, you know, how surreal this was, and how we, you know, from different backgrounds had gotten to this situation. And I think that's what we want to take away the most of my time working with him was that, and how kind and welcoming he was.
Yeah.
And that's more important than all of it.
Yeah, he's only 31 years old, as I say, married with 2 kids, was born in Arlington Heights, Illinois, the Chicago area, Chicago suburbs. A good solid American background, but not a man of great privilege. His mother was a mental health counsellor. His father was an architect. In high school, he campaigned for US Senate candidate Mark Kirk, no relation, and organised a campaign to reverse a price hike on his school cafeteria. So he's one of those people. He went on to attend Harper College, but dropped out to pursue political activism full-time. So he's one of those people who, you know, is a politician through and through, even at school, campaigning against price hikes in the cafeteria. A natural politician.
Yeah, I mean, that's the guy he was. He was the guy who didn't need to go to college because, you know, he'd already been there in his own mind. He understood the dialogue. He was wise beyond his years. He was somebody, you know, who was able to have that scholarly debate without having been a traditional student himself, and the way he brought it all in, the way he took that movement from high school and immediately, you know, from his garage. I mean, I know the original story. It's from a garage with a small check, and from there he turned this into a worldwide organization that's changed a lot. I met my fiance. I'm getting married in December in Palm Beach, to the woman I met because of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. Without Charlie, I'm not going to meet my wife. I mean, this how much he's touched just me without even knowing it, just by what he's built and how many other lives he's changed by what he built. It's incredible, and it's not to be understated how rare it is to see a young person do that at such a level, with the level of professionalism and courtesy that he did. He never got, you know, too down in it. He always stayed above the fray, despite, you know, going in it. He always kept that professionalism, and that's what turned so many young people onto our movement. Without him, I don't think we would have had a President Trump in 2016 or 2020. That's how important Charlie Kirk is to the conservative movement and to America.
I was just going to ask you that, Errol. Yeah, just how important was he in the last 2 campaigns to Donald Trump? How important is he? How important is he to the Republican movement in terms of attracting the young vote?
Yeah, I mean, well, just look at the demographics that all of a sudden emerged. The concept of a male vote. Well, that never existed until the last election, and it was always a split demographic. Charlie Kirk was the first person to, you know, sort of galvanize young men, not in a negative way, but in a positive way of, you know, self-actualization and, you know, following Christ or other positive leaders if that you want, and not specifically Christ, but he was always, you know, following positive things, and all of those things are what got young men to start being more politically active, and then men became a voting bloc, and that's a lot of what that those newly involved voters, I mean, those came from the videos and the organizational structure of Turning Point USA and other organizations that came off of that and spawned off of that, as well as how Donald Trump actually realized, hey, this is a powerful grassroots real movement. The difference between our movement and the Republican Party and some of the other movements is, you know, we're not knocking on doors, you know, because people are paying us. We're doing it for free. When Republicans Overseas UK comes on Al Jazeera, we pay our own pocket and we sleep in our own hotel and we fly on Ryanair to get there. They fly all the other guys in first class and they put them up in a hotel. We actually believe in what we're saying. Nobody pays us to do a darn thing that we do here because we care about it. And that's the kind of passion that Charlie got out of people. He got people who do it for free, and other people wouldn't do it for anything. And that's really something to be commended, because that's the kind of movement that led to the Make America Great Again movement, leading to Donald Trump's reelection. And everybody played a role, and young men finally had their say, and that was because of Charlie.
Tell us a bit about Turning Point Action. So obviously a big organization in America. That he was on a tour for Turning Point, but you were just saying earlier in this conversation that you've set up a similar organisation, or shall we say a British arm of this Turning Point?
There had, in 2019, there was the formation of that organization, and then it was a student organization, and so from that moment I moved on. It is still, as far as I know, functional in the UK, but there's a lot of different organizations in the UK. The Turning Point USA movement is much bigger, obviously, and the campus-wide outreach in the US is much different than the UK. That's one of the differences we had. Sort of the US campuses were different than the UK campuses, so it is a much smaller organization, as far as I know, in the UK. But in the United States, it's fundamentally a gigantic organization. It spawns across campuses and young people. Even there's high school level, like for seniors, rising seniors going into their university. So it's become a youth movement, but it's also a youth movement that your parents don't hate and you don't hate as a young person. It's kind of cool. Like, I mean, it's counterculture because it's conservative now. Conservatism is counterculture, so young people can kind of gravitate to that. But also probably your parents secretly don't hate that you're there. So it's a really fun place to go. And the fact that those young people had to run in fear of gunshots. I was one of those young students one time there, just to hear out debates, and that's a terrifying thing to imagine that happened there to those young people who felt safe and felt they were amongst friends and peers, especially when conservative students don't have that feeling in their campus anywhere usually.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, Errol. It's always been difficult. You probably know this. Also, if you're young, you're a student. It's difficult to be on the right side of politics because most young people, tend to reject that worldview. So Charlie Kirk, to what extent has he helped young people feel good about their right-wing politics?
Yeah, I think by just normalizing the ideology, by repeating our beliefs and doing it in a public place and not being afraid to do that. When I was a student at Berkeley, it was very clear that there was just the Berkeley answer. And if you didn't give that answer, you weren't going to be included socially. So what was the real value of going against it as a student, especially if you want to get internships or you want to be included in organizations and you want to, you have student debt and you want to get out of there. But somebody like Charlie to go and stand in the proverbial town square or the forum, the quad, and say, no, I disagree. And despite everybody being against that viewpoint, you see somebody there, standing in the line of fire. Maybe it doesn't galvanize you that day, but later on you remember that. And that gets passed down, and eventually, that kind of courage is noticed, and you show up every single day and you bring that to the table, and all of a sudden it turns into a real movement. And I think that's what Charlie did. He turned something that people thought was already, they already thought they lost the culture war when Charlie Kirk showed up. The culture war was over. We had lost. We didn't lose. In fact, we were right there in the game the whole time. You just had to believe in yourself as much as Charlie Kirk believed in himself, believed in Turning Point USA, and believed in President Trump. And he got shot today for that.
He was a very hard worker as well. Of course, he was the host of his massive radio podcast program, The Charlie Kirk Show, which receives about 500,000 to 750,000 downloads every day, which is phenomenal. But he's written a lot of books as well. Time for a Turning Point, 2016, Campus Battlefield, 2018, The MAGA Doctrine, 2020, The College Scam, 2022, Right Wing Revolution, 2024. This guy was prolific. He was a hell of a hard worker, or he is a hell of a hard worker.
Yeah. Oh, he absolutely was. And I was there for a couple of the stories in those books. I mean, I was in the events that he was writing about, and it was cool as a young person or as a student to have been at these events, and finally you saw an author actually write about the events and the perspectives that you had as a conservative student. The Battlefield Campus or whatever, I forgot the title is at the moment, but these books, I mean, he's not only a hard worker, but he's a generous person, and he gave a lot of money to charity and a lot of money to good organizations. So he didn't just do it for himself. He cranked out these books and young people read them, and they're a way to disseminate the ideology, and oftentimes they shoot the messenger. And that's what Charlie Kirk was, the messenger.
And let's go back to, the American dream, as it were. Why does it keep turning into this kind of nightmare? Why is it? I mean, we have problems here in this country. Britain well as well. I think our political discourse has become far more caustic, far more aggressive. People no longer seem to be able to disagree with each other in a civilized way. In America, that has been a problem for a long time. I mean, is there anything both countries, but particularly America, can do about this?
Man, at this point, I guess not. It doesn't seem like it, right? It doesn't seem like there's any, I mean, outside of some sort of techno-fascism where we all live in segregated areas and scan each other's faces and have social credit scores and lives in some dystopian hellscape, I don't understand how the society that my parents grew up in is so deviated from the society that I grew up in, which is unrecognizable from the society today. And I'm not that old, bro. I'm not that old to feel.
I could tell that, Errol. I can see that.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to feel that the country I grew up in is completely gone. Like none of the values, nothing. It's the rate of change. When my mother was a student in high school, they would bring the rifle to school, lock it in their locker, and have a shooting club after school. That was the ethos of the country. Now, you just shoot everybody at school or shoot people you disagree with. 58 people were murdered in Chicago over Labor Day, and they say it's not a war zone. So I don't have an answer for you at this point. I mean, I just watched a man who I respect and care deeply of and consider a friend get shot, and I can't quite tell you that there's a remedy to that. It doesn't seem like there's any direction of that, and I don't see how we get better before things get worse at this rate. Maybe that's not the optimistic attitude I should have, but that's how it feels.
Well, I understand it, Errol. I've got to tell you, shockingly, right now, as we speak, apparently there's a school shooting going on in Chicago. Colorado, okay. Sorry, not Chicago, Colorado, in Colorado.
Jesus.
Right now. Now, what's going to happen on
I'm not surprised. Doesn't even surprise me. Not even 1%. That doesn't even shock me as an American. That's like, okay, Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's our attitude over here. You know, when somebody says to me, you know, as a newsman, there's been a school shooting, you know, my first question is how many? You know, how many dead? And if they say 4, well, you know, going to need more than that to make the grade, as it were. And that is a sad comment on where we're heading. Now, over on this side of the Atlantic, Errol, there will be the usual cries, well, why don't the Americans do something about gun control? I mean, but basically gun control would not prevent this kind of incident. And those in favour of the right to bear arms will always say it's not guns that are dangerous, it's the people who fire them.
Yeah, and Charlie was one of those people. And Charlie would sit here right now if he was in my chair, and he would say that it was somebody who illegally used a gun to try to murder him. Like, good, decent folks don't do this. My friends and I all own weapons. We don't do any of this. We keep them locked up. We protect our neighborhoods. It's just normal behavior. So you have a situation also where mental health has I think circumnavigated sort of the checks and balances we had. There's zero, I guess, abrogation of your rights, even if you're completely lunatic, like to the point where you're chopping off body parts. We're just gonna like have no checks and balances, and I think we're coming to a head on that. Like there needs to be some point where certain types of people who are obviously threats are removed from this process. How do we do that when it's enshrined in the Constitution and these are your God-given rights? It's very difficult to do. But Charlie was a firm defender of the Second Amendment, firm supporter of the right to bear arms, and this illegal use of weapons is exactly, you know, what he was, I think, they're talking about in regards to some of the trans murders and stuff. That was the timing of this shot, not to bring up that, but I mean, there's been a lot of violence that's come from certain segments of people who are on certain types of medication, and there might be a connection here. I don't know, but it was reported. I think that the timing of the shot is very relevant to why the situation is so screwed up, because certain people I don't think can have weapons in this modern society that we've built, but we have the right to as Americans. So now we need to figure this one out, and quickly.
Last couple of questions, really, Errol. Thanks so much again for joining us at such short notice in such sad circumstances. But Charlie Kirk was over here in Britain back in May. And he went to the Cambridge University, and got involved in some very spirited discussions, if we can put it that way. And I think he was quite shocked by the intolerance that he encountered from students who did not share his worldview. I mean, I'm assuming Charlie is pro-life. That's something that doesn't tend to go down well with our students here in this country. He's also a very strong supporter of Israel. By the way, that's got him in trouble with the left and the right. The right in America don't like his views on Israel. So quite an independent thinker, prepared to fly in the face of what you might expect from someone like him. But when he was in Britain, as I say, he got involved in these really heated debates at Cambridge. And of course they dismissed him as a fascist and a Nazi and all that. And I think he was a bit shocked by the intolerance, the failure to appreciate the value of free speech and the right to hold different opinions. I think he was shocked about that. You talked about his love of free speech and his fear, like President Trump, like J.D. Vance, that we here in Britain are losing our power of free speech. He was worried about that.
I think he was worried about that, and rightly so, based on his experiences and my experiences going around and doing public speaking in the UK. I mean, just for a parallel, I had one example where I was in Bradford, of all places, for some reason, in the middle of the debate. Chatham House and all these people were there. I said, 200, 300 people. I said, can we stop this debate for a minute? Just a show of hands from the audience. How many people here think I'm a legitimate Nazi? And about 75% of the people raised their hand. And I said, do you think a Turkish guy flew here from Berkeley to St. Andrews, took 3 trains to get to a village, you'd never heard of this place in my life, to spend an hour talking to you people, and you think I'm a Nazi? That's where we're starting from. This is a hopeless, we didn't even need to show up here if that was the basis. And so I'm nobody. Charlie Kirk walks into these big time places and he deals with that kind of stuff, and it's national news, and he stands there and he's shocked and appalled at the absolute abrogation of debate, or even giving the other side the courtesy or common decency of hearing them out. That used to be a thing back in the day. I wasn't there, but I heard, for example, at my alma mater at Berkeley, they used to let a white supremacist come and speak and then denounce him and say, what an idiot. Look at that guy. We let him speak. Now get him off the stage and refute all of his points. Now that's what I thought free speech was. By the time I got to universities, and by the time I got to the UK and saw free speech in the UK, as well as California, which I guess isn't quite part of the US, I would say it's completely gone. And Charlie was fighting for that. And he was fighting for that in the UK for British citizens. As maybe unwelcome as he was, it was from a good place.
Well, you know that some of us in Britain are rather embarrassed about the erosion of our right to free speech. It is very, very humiliating for a lot of us. My apologies. Listen, I want to. This is shocking. This is unbelievable. MSNBC, your favourite TV news service, MSNBC, listen to this. This isn't a quote, but they effectively say Charlie Kirk had it coming. This is the quote. You can't stop with these awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. That has just been broadcast on MSNBC.
Well, these people have a special place reserved for them somewhere.
Can you believe that? Can you believe
that? Is insane. So if you disagree with people, and just kill them, just kill them. Just kill them. These people can't explain to me what electricity is. These people have the fundamental knowledge scientifically of how the world works of an amoeba. Yet they want to just murder people who disagree with their social opinions. They couldn't build a house. They couldn't build plumbing. They don't know how natural gas works. Most of these people are completely functionally illiterate morons, and yet they somehow believe that their ideological social opinions are worth killing people over. That's the level of narcissistic people we have in our society. Narcissistic people embodied and encouraged by this academic system that took crazy people and elevated them to positions of authority to validate more crazy people until you get what you have here today, which is the good guys getting shot in the head by people like that and that kind of a mentality. That makes me sick.
It makes me sick too. MSNBC obviously assuming that if you have right of centre opinions, they are inherently awful. And because you express those right of centre opinions, you can only expect something awful to happen, like this. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. And now his 2 kids, his 1-year-old and his 3-year-old, don't have a father.
Come
and then so because you disagreed with him, now these kids have no dad.
Well, let's hope that he.
Yeah, no, not saying that. Not saying.
Let's just hope. Fingers crossed, Errol. Errol, listen. Once again, thank you so much. Are you in London at the moment, or are you over in the States?
I'm coming. I'll be there in like 4 days. I'm back in the States.
So have you still been all the time? You've been over there after your car crash, or?
Yeah, but I'm in Detroit right now, but I'll be coming for the state visit.
4 days, right.
Hold me to it.
I owe you a beer. Thank you so much, Errol. Good to talk to you. Errol Moorcock, spokesman for the Republican Overseas Organisation here in London, in the UK, but also a very close friend of Charlie Kirk. It is extraordinary that it is now being expressed in America that Charlie Kirk effectively, because of his forthright right of centre opinions, Trumpian outlook, had it coming. This is on MSNBC, a TV news outlet that makes CNN look fascist, look right-wing. I mean, MSNBC is very left-wing, but that is no way to... Come on. The guy's got political opinions. Nobody deserves to be shot. He's a father. He's got 2 kids. He's got a wife. Come on, folks. Let's get this real. Now, we lapsed into once or twice there talking about Charlie in the past tense. We mustn't do that. You tend to do this when you see these awful assassination attempts. But as far as we know, he has survived. Fighting for his life, of course. Shocking loss of blood. So we are praying for him. We have our fingers crossed for him on a human level. Doesn't matter whether you agree with him. On a human level, we all should be praying for Charlie Kirk. He did not deserve this. Am I right? 03444991000. We've got a break now. We'll talk more of this when we come back.
Got so many people who dislike him in his cabinet, on his backbenchers, within the trade unions, within the membership, and he did a non-shuffle, reshuffle. He moved people around to different positions, and can I tell you, the only winners from that really are the civil servants, because he won't be in charge of what goes on now in government, because it takes such a long time.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to go straight over to my next guest. He's an independent councillor in Sandhurst. We're going to talk to him about flags, but I think we need to also discuss what's happened in America with him as a politician. He is Councillor John Edwards, as I say, from Sandhurst. Hello, John.
Hi.
Can I get your reaction to what's happened in America? Charlie Kirk, the famous conservative influencer, close ally of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, shot during a debate at Utah Valley University. There's a video going around, shocking amount of blood loss. We hear he has survived, but we don't actually know. We're hearing that the shooter may have been a registered Democrat. We've got a name, but we can't confirm it. But all in all, a terrible event. His wife, he's only 31 years old, his young wife and his two little kids were there. I only hope they didn't actually see it, but I fear they may have done. But what a shocking thing to happen.
It's absolutely appalling, and it's heartbreaking. Obviously, you pray that he's okay, and you think of what their family are going through. It must be awful. What shocked me the most, and you touched on it earlier, is what left-wing news outlets are already saying. So MSNBC, Kate Turr has already said that she introduced it as divisive, polarizing, a lightning rod. And then she also claimed that she could imagine Donald Trump trying to justify something, taking advantage of the situation. And you think these are such appalling things, and actually they've learned nothing, the left, because it's this type of rhetoric which has actually radicalised people to try to assassinate Trump, try now to assassinate Charlie Kirk. And they really do need to... and this actually ties into our conversation about flags. This is called hateful, racist, xenophobic.
Yeah.
And it's all the same. They're putting people at risk by just being hyperbolic.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a second there, John, because I'm getting from, again, not an official source. We don't know, but there is a story going around that he is confirmed dead. But as I say, I'm not confirming that. We're having to do this on the hoof as developments unfold. But let's hope that isn't true. But I think I better put it out there because I've had it from, it's a very good source who's telling me that. But again, not confirmed. But I did see the video. I don't recommend anybody does have a look at it. But there is a tremendous amount of blood coming out of his neck. So, as you say, why is it, John, you're in politics, but why is it that human beings, particularly in countries like America especially, but here increasingly as well, why is it that we just can't seem to engage in political debate in a civilised way? Why is it we can't accept that other people may have different opinions from us? So why are we so intolerant, or why are so many people so intolerant of those with whom they disagree?
Yeah, I think that's a huge question, and society definitely has become more polarised. I think the rhetoric on, I'm going to say both sides, but I do think it's particularly bad on the left, because they are calling people just for questioning things like immigration, the levels of that, resources, questioning illegal immigration, called Nazi and fascist. These are really dangerous terms to be calling people. So, that type of thing definitely needs to calm down. As for why they've become, I don't know, that's a massive question, but probably because, personally, if you want my personal take is that actually the divide is now the nation state. The left don't believe in the nation state. They don't believe in traditional values. They don't believe in any of those things. And that's what used to bind us together. Second World War used to have, people on both sides of the political spectrum fighting together. And now I think you've got the left who just want a sort of a faceless global progressive world order. And you've got people on the right who value British traditions. And maybe those things, they are reconcilable, but maybe they've been put to the pushing point, and we all need to take a step back.
Absolutely. You alluded to what we were going to talk about, and it is kind of relevant. It does show a strange kind of intolerance, a strange kind of approach to politics, insofar as what we were going to talk about is there's this kind of a semi-abandoned caravan down in Brighton in Sussex, and it's been beside the road and it's been bedecked for many months now, best part of a year I gather, with all these Free Palestine, you know, stop the genocide, Israel genocide evil and all this, all over it. If you look at it, it's a right old mess. So some patriots turned up and added to this painted decoration on this rusty old white caravan. They added a painted St George's cross. Now, all of that Free Palestine and stop the genocide, that's been on this caravan apparently for about the best part of a year, maybe more. And these people turned up and put a St George's cross there, and within 72 hours the council turned up and got rid of the St George's cross. So in other words, they'll let the Free Palestine Stop the Genocide painting, daubing, stay there for months on end. But the moment they see a St George's cross, this is in Britain, this is in Sussex, in Brighton, the moment they see that, the town hall are there like a shot to get rid of the flag. What's going on there?
Well, it's because, I mean, quite simply, they dislike our flag and they don't like our national identity, cultural heritage. You know, it's pretty much what I was touching on before. I mean, that's what it boils down to. They give us these great reasons that's to do with highway safety or the removal of the van, but we've all seen the double standards, as you pointed out. You know, in my area, in Bracknell Forest Council, cherry pickers were out within 24 hours at 5 a.m. to take down the flags, and Birmingham all throughout when Palestinian flags were up for months. You know, obviously now we've got in Brighton. And there was a town in Northern Ireland, I think it was called Ballymena, and there was a pride flag up. This is last year. The same. Someone put it up with cable ties, and someone took it down. Now, not only you would think the council would praise that because it was getting rid of this dangerous flag flying as highway safety, but no, actually what happened is the police came out and they tried to investigate it for a hate crime. So these double standards are here for absolutely everyone to see. And the mask sometimes slips. They blame these, you know, as I said, these legislations to take them down. But in my area, in Tilehurst in Reading, it's the next county over.
Yeah.
There's been someone's complained, 2 residents complained about the flags going up. And Liberal Democrat councillors have called them, what do they call them? They call them alarming, extreme far right, and intimidating. So because of that, they've said they've got to come down. But I can guarantee you, if a resident called up about a pride flag and said, I find them intimidating, they would not be taking those pride flags. As in fact, that resident would probably get a call by the old Bill for a hate crime incident or a non-crime hate crime or whatever it's called these days.
Listen, John, yeah, we got kind of somewhat sort of diverted there because of what's happened in the States. But let's get you on again soon. We'll have a proper chat. But thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your thoughts on what happened in America there. That's Councillor John Edwards, independent councillor down there in Sandhurst in Berkshire. I think it's near Reading, Bracknell, that kind of way. 2-tier flag war. There you go. You're allowed to daub a kind of abandoned caravan with Free Gaza, Stop the Genocide, but you're not allowed to daub it with a St George's cross, according to the town hall. 72 hours took them to get rid of the St George's cross. The pro-Palestine stuff was there for months on end. Kind of weird, don't you think? As we understand it now, I did just announce somebody, very good source, contact of mine said that it was felt that Charlie Kirk was dead, but we are hearing now that he is undergoing surgery. And the suspect that I talked about earlier, I think it's the suspect I talked about. I mean, obviously, this is, you know, a sea of vagary at the moment. We're not sure exactly what's going on. We're trying to give you the developments as they emerge. But we are hearing that suspect that I mentioned, who was supposed to be a registered Democrat in Utah, is no longer in custody. So if it's the same guy, that's a wrongful arrest. So that's clearly, well, we have no real indication as to who the perpetrator of this horrific attack on Charlie Kirk may have been. Now, one thing we do understand was that the bullet hit the carotid artery, and that means that unless you get on to the case very, very quickly, it will bleed out at great speed. But the only good thing is he was surrounded by people, and if you get something onto that artery, if you immediately pack it with something to stop the bleeding, you may be okay. So as we understand it, he was hit in the carotid artery, which is in the neck. Very, very crucial place to be hit. It being an artery, that would explain the kind of explosion of blood that you can see. But he's now undergoing surgery. President Trump has just announced that we must all pray for Charlie Kirk. We're going to go to break now, and when we come back, we're going to speak to another friend of Charlie Kirk, and a friend of mine as well, friend of you all perhaps, Alex Phillips. Alex Phillips knows Charlie very well, so we'll get Alex's take on the tragedy. Well, let's hope it's not a full tragedy, but the shocking assassination attempt on Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University just a couple of hours ago. He is at best, he is fighting for his life. At best, this is a terrible incident. He was shot from what they think was about 200 yards, 200 meters away from another building, and awfully, dreadfully, it's possible that his young wife and his two kids who were present may have seen this. This is a 31-year-old, campaigning young man, brilliant young man, with a wife and two children, on a tour, debating tour of universities of different venues, shot for his political opinions. Let's hope he survives. As President Trump says, we must all pray for Charlie Kirk. On MSNBC, the American left-wing news outlet, they essentially said that this guy, Charlie Kirk, had it coming. You can't stop with these awful thoughts you have, and then saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. That was what was actually said on MSNBC. In other words, his thoughts, them being right of centre, are immediately classified by MSNBC as awful. And if you're going to express these awful opinions, you must expect awful things to happen. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. Yeah, I've just heard breaking news. Very, very sad. He has died. He has died. Charlie Kirk is dead. I mean, come on. Come on. His wife, 31 years old. His wife was there. His two kids, his two little kids. They're only about 1 and 3, apparently. He's dead. Charlie Kirk has died. Absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Let's go to break. We'll talk to Alex Phillips after this break.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I just mentioned, announced before the break, Charlie Kirk, the Conservative commentator in America, close ally of Donald Trump, the president, has died. He has been shot dead at Utah Valley University a couple of hours ago. A video circulated. You could see the injury was grave. An explosion of blood. It hit him in the neck. We're told it's the carotid artery, which unless you stem the bleeding instantly, it's one of the worst places you can be hit. So poor Charlie Kirk has died. It's possible his wife and his two little kids, he was 31 years old, his young wife and his two little kids were there. Let's hope the kids didn't see it. Let's hope his wife didn't see it. Now, Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social, his social media website, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and his family. Charlie, we love you. Absolutely shocking. What a shocking thing to happen. Shot for his political opinions, which weren't extreme, by the way. He was a right-of-centre man. He was a Republican. You know, nobody deserves to be shot for any political opinion, but legitimate centrist opinions, you get shot dead for that? Give me a break. Let's go on to my good friend and talk presenter who actually knew Charlie Kirk, has been working with him a bit, knows him, Alex Phillips. Alex, I mean, this is absolutely dreadful, isn't it?
Yeah, I just want to apologise to listeners and viewers about the glib surroundings I find myself in, because I was just having a glass of wine and doing crosswords with my brother when I got the news, so I'm not somewhere where I'd like to be actually be able to explain how, Kev, I don't know what to say, how awful this is.
It really is. I mean,
this is. The man wasn't killed for being an extremist. He wasn't. He was a Christian.
Yeah.
He was an evangelical Christian. He just believed in family. He just believed in nation states. He just believed in the West. He was not toxic. He was not evil. He was not divisive. He was a man filled with love. He was a man, actually, who had a God-given ability to argue and debate. He was a man that if you came against him and tried to argue that giving puberty blocker to kids was okay, he could dismantle you. He had this ability to actually speak sense in a world of chaos. Yeah. He was a good man. His wife, he was a new father. He was about 10 years younger than me, Kev. I was
31 years old, 31 years old, with a young wife and two little kids. They were all present. I hope to hell that the kids, at least, did not see this. But it is a shocking event, an indictment of political discourse in the West generally. But what a terrible, terrible thing to happen. A devoted young man, a campaigner, somebody who cared deeply about the world, and for that, he gets shot dead. Give me a break, Alex.
Kevin, speaks deeper than this. When are we going to wake up? Assassination attempts on Donald Trump. Assassination attempts on the Prime Minister of Slovakia. Charlie Kirk, killed, assassinated. We've got to wake up, Kev. We've got to wake up. It's not okay. These people aren't extremists. They need to stop saying Nazis. They need to stop saying scum off our streets. They need to stop calling us fascists, because what people like Charlie Kirk extolled was basic Western values.
Yeah, you're so right. But let me tell you this, Alex. Let me tell you this. On MSNBC, about 15 minutes ago, someone said, essentially, he had it coming. This is what was said. This is what was said. You can't stop with these awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. So what MSNBC is saying is, well, if you
What is awful about the teachings of the Bible? Yeah. What is awful about everything that's made Western civilization okay? What is awful about kindness, about tolerance, about not giving puberty blockers to kids, about saying actually criminals and terrorists shouldn't break into your country? This isn't evil. It's got to stop, Kev. It has got to stop this painting of the voice of reason and goodness and tolerance and understanding being painted as evil. It's got to stop people being killed. People being killed. I don't know how to react to this tonight because I am lost for words.
Well,
an evangelical Christian and a commentator, yes, he had a sharp wit, yes, he could win a debate, but he was a good man. And he's been killed, and that is harrowing. It's harrowing.
Well, it's just shocking. It's just so dreadful. But I mean, this is a guy. He was over here recently. He was shocked by the erosion of free speech in this country. He campaigned passionately for that. He went to Cambridge University, got vilified because he's a pro-lifer, and so on and so forth. At this moment, I'm not going to name names, but can I just implore British politicians to stop calling people who are right-wing Nazis. This is the kind of rhetoric that leads to this, right? You know who I'm talking about.
But Kev, this message came out after that crazy kid tried to assassinate Trump. This message came out after David Amos. This message has been shouted. It has been bellowed. People like us have warned that if you call ordinary men and women of this country fascists and narcissists and dangerous, then nut jobs will heed the call. It's stopping now, Kev. I say it tonight. I say it right now. It is stopping.
Yeah.
We can't allow it anymore. It's over. This vilification is over.
It's got to stop. You're right. The political discourse, both sides of the Atlantic, has lost all sense of civilized debate. It really, really has. And we've got to do something about this. I mean, you just brought out David Amos. I must admit, to my shame, I'd kind of forgotten about this. So it's the sort of thing that happens here as well.
The president of Slovakia, Kev, the rap sheet is growing. This has to stop. I have said this repeatedly. Do you know, yesterday I looked down the barrel of the camera when I heard Lord Herman talking about fascists and Nazis, John McDonnell actually, comparing Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about.
And I said, this is going to stop. All crazy lefties are going to respond to your clarion call.
Yeah.
And I felt it was tonight when I got that news. I've been working with Charlie. I don't even know what to say. It's got to stop.
Yeah, by the way, Alex, we've got to go in just a second. Thanks so much for joining us. But let's get this straight. Charlie Kirk, from all accounts, I've spoken to several friends of his tonight, including you, was a very nice man, a very loving, generous, good-spirited man, and we've lost him. We've lost him in this most despicable way. It's just unbelievable.
Wake up.
Yeah, we've got to wake up.
Wake up. That's the only message.
Yeah, and let's stop calling our political opponents Adolf Hitler and Nazis. That might help, don't you think? You know, John McDonnell calling Nigel Farage Adolf Hitler. I mean, how old is John McDonnell? Is he 13 or something? He's not, is he?
This isn't about people being infertile. This is about mad lunatics hearing that and feeling justified in killing someone. If you say this person's dangerous, if you say stamp on their necks, if you say get the scum off our streets, if you compare them to fascists, and then harm comes to them,
yeah, and then left-wingers say they were asking for it. Alex, the show is over, but I'm so pleased that you're able to join us and have another drink and try to get to grips with what's happened. Listen, I've got to go now. Petri Hoskin is going to join you in just a second. It's been amazing. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Of course, he's a civil servant now, and Keir Starmer will think a successful civil servant, ambassador to the court of Donald Trump, a trade deal signed. We've got Donald Trump coming over for a state visit very soon.